your life easier, rather than, we would suggest you wait a little bit until you've seen the presentation before you throw your questions in there, because they may be answered in the Q&A. When you put your question in there, please be clear whether it's a PPP question or a EIDL question. That will help us make sure it goes to the right folks and get a clear answer on it. Please make your question a full statement. Hang on a second, I need to just mute that. So that happens when I start YouTube. Please make it a full statement so we can understand what it says. And then before you put your own question in, have a look at what other questions there might be in the chat. And if you like one of those, please use the upvote on it rather than submitting your own question, because we're probably going to get literally hundreds of questions today, and the ones with the most upvotes will get the ones that are the ones that are going to get answered. With all that said, I think we're ready to start. Sunita, are you going to share your screen? We're not seeing your screen. Probably because I haven't done the thing that lets you do that. Okay, now I've let you do that. Ready, and please put your questions into the Q&A rather than into the chat. I've seen a couple of the people things coming in chat. We won't be pulling them from there. Okay, so yep, send that into slideshow mode, and oh no, button on the left from beginning. Top left.
Okay, here we go, everyone. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Alan. My name is Sunita Maharaj, and I am with the Regional Northern California SBDC, supported by the SBA and State of California. We provide no-fee advising for small businesses. I am with the Finance Center, specializing in getting loans for small businesses. Scott Rogalski is the director. He's usually doing these introductions and these Q&As, but I am here today, Sunita Maharaj, and I am the associate director. So thank you for joining us today. Disclaimer, we say this all the time, and we really do mean this, is things are changing all the time. This information is correct as of this moment in time. Again, things are changing all the time. We did have a situation the other day where we're going through this update, and things change during our call. So things do change quite often. If you applied for the EIDL, then your loan inquiry will be processed, even though the site is currently down. So again, if you applied for the EIDL, then your loan inquiry will be processed, even though the site is currently down. At this point in time, unless our SBA advisor lets us know, there's no way that we, SBDC, can check on status of your submitted loan to EIDL. Please be patient. If you decided that you wanted to email them or call during the weekend, I believe is the best time. We do have that information at the end of the slide. We do understand and apologize that these systems are currently not available. EIDL is not available at this time to apply, and neither is the PPP. They have closed it out as of right now. There is talks with the government about including more funds, but we just don't have that information right now, and we can't talk about how much is going to be allotted. We don't know until that has all been clarified and approved, then we can talk about it, but we don't know at this point in time. There's talks that there will be additional funds, we just don't know how much or when. So what to do in the meantime? So what are we going to do? This is the perfect time to plan and get your financials together. So what we advise you to do is get your last 3 years of business taxes together and your personal taxes together. So anyone that is 20% or more owner of your business needs to gather their taxes together. 29 year-to-date income statement or profit and loss statement, interchangeable, same thing, and a balance sheet. and your 2020 year-to-date income statement and balance sheet. Personal financial statement for all owners over 20%. A business debt schedule. You can get a credit report for free from these two places, your annualcreditreport.com and also creditkarma.com. You need to see what's on your credit report. If you have any delinquencies, we need to make sure that those are corrected before you submit any of your paperwork to any potential loan prospects out there, any lenders. If some of these documents do not seem familiar to you, that's okay. We do have advisors on standby to be able to help you. Once you become a client, we can walk you through all of this, and we can help guide you through what these different documents are and what they mean. So we are there for you and we can help you. Loans available. Now, what I want to go through is options for possible loans available. Our lenders out there are still working on the payment protection plan applications. So they have been inundated with these applications. They have pulled all resources together to work on them. So getting loans is a little bit tough right now, but it's not impossible. And we can help you with gathering everything together so that you have these options. Types of loans you can get. I know we have on here SBA Direct, EIDL, and Advance. Once this portal opens up again, you should be able to apply for this. Like I said, we don't know when it's going to open up again. We don't know what the stipulations are going to be. There may be new laws. We don't know. This is things that are possibilities in the near future, hopefully. This is supported by SBA, and you would go directly to SBA to apply for it when it opens up. SBA supported loans, PPP loans from lenders. You would go to your local lender, the lender that you bank with, and that's where you would apply once that is opened up again. California supported items, sales tax deferment, iBank microloans, SBA Bridge Express loan for $25,000 or under. At this point in time, there are no lenders that have said that they will be doing this, but you never know. In the near future, they just might be. Current SBA loan support. This is really huge. For a loan, if you do have currently an SBA loan, they're going to pay principal and interest up to 6 months. For any new loans that are funded up until September 27th, 2020, they will be paying principal, interest, and your fees, which is amazing. So that is something also, if you talk to your lender, we can help you find lenders that would be able to fund those loans. The EIDL loan terms. If you've already submitted your EIDL loan term, or possibility of submitting in the future, these are the terms of the loans. It's for 30 years at 3.75%. You have an 11th month deferment. So you start paying on the 12th month. The loan amount ranges from $5,000 to $2 million max. Time frame. Best case scenario is 25 to 35 business days. Other documents that could possibly be needed are SBA forms 2202, 1368, 413D, 4506T. We have those documents and we can share them with you if you don't have them. I don't believe the SBA site has these documents there, but we can share them with you, and we can also help you complete these documents. We can lead you through the different questions, the pitfalls of some of these documents, and how to complete them correctly. You're trying to get prepared for when SBA asks you for these documents. If they don't, at least you'll have these documents ready for any other lender as well. Eligibility. Businesses and co-ops with 500 employees or less. Some nonprofits that have 750 employees or less. Sole props and independent contractors are also eligible. EIDL Advance. Only part of the EIDL that is forgiven. is the advance of up to $10,000. Advance equals $1,000 per employee. How long does it take? It takes about 2 to 3 weeks after you have applied. It'll be dropped straight into your account that you've provided. And this amount is fully forgiven, even if your loan is not approved. The Payment Protection Plan is another plan, which we also call the PPP. The terms of the loan, 2 years at 1%, 6-month deferment of the first payment, and it is up to $10 million that you can get. There's no personal guarantee, there's no collateral, and there's no credit necessary. What you'll need to do is gather some paperwork for your lender. The lender's website should have each document that is required. So these are some of the documents that you will need. For sole props, independent contractors, you need to gather your 1099s and you need to create a Schedule C. Even if you have not filed your 2019 taxes yet, they need to see it on a Schedule C. We can assist you with that as well. We can help you take your profit and loss statements, income statement, and put it onto a Schedule C if you haven't done that already. You have to be pretty much finalized on those numbers for the banks to accept them. You don't have to have them filed yet. All other entities, you would need your W-2s, your 941s, and your 940s. There are some companies out there at this point in time, ADP and companies like them, that have this all put together for you. All you have to do is go online if you already subscribe with them, and they have a packet for you ready to go so that it's very user-friendly. What can this money be used for? It can be used mainly this is used for payroll costs. You can use some for rent, some for utilities, and interest debt payments only, just the interest portion, not the principal portion. It's just the way the law was written. How it's calculated is 2.5 times monthly payroll costs. Costs related to the, costs related to the continuation of group health benefits during periods of paid, sick, medical, or family leave, and insurance premiums, employee salaries, commissions, or similar compensation. Plus, some can go to rent, mortgage payments, utilities, and interest debt payments. What portion of the PPP is forgiven? The clock starts once the loan is funded. If you are funded today, the clock starts. Your 8 weeks starts today. The first 8 weeks of money spent could potentially be forgiven, and potentially 75% or more spent on payroll costs. 25% less spent, 25% or less is spent on rent, utilities, or interest debt. Here is a link to some lenders that are taking non-customers. Once this opens up again, these are some of the places that you would want to go to. I know the larger banks, such as, I'll just say a couple, B of A, Chase, Wells Fargo, they have a lot of customers, and we don't recommend that you apply to multiple banks, but you may want to look into a smaller bank or a non-bank, meaning that you don't have to have accounts with them, such as some of these banks here. Some of these banks you do have to have accounts with, some of these lenders you do not. You may want to look into that. They don't have as many customers, and they could possibly process your loan application much faster. We also have additional lists, and you can ask us at loans@asksbdc.com. We also have a telephone number. If you want to find somebody local to you, you can also put in your zip code into this website, and it'll give you information there. It does give you more the larger banks, but here are some other banks that you can use, and we have other banks also that are lenders that we can recommend. So California Small Business Support. California iBank supporting small businesses. There is a $50 million fund for loans up to $50,000. Currently not available, and more information to come. We just had a meeting this morning. They were supposed to have it finalized as of today, but unfortunately that is not the case. So once that does open up, we will let you know. The caveat to this, though, is only available if you've been declined or ineligible by the PPP or EIDL loans. We can talk about that more. The other part is there is a disaster state guarantee loan of up to $1 million at a 95% guarantee. And that is through an approved lender. We can get you a list of that. Our finance advisors and other advisors would have that information for you. And there's also sales tax deferral, allowing a small business to defer payment of sales tax up to $50,000 for up to 12 months. We are committed to try and do a same-day response to you. So if you call us at 833-ASK-SBDC, a live person will answer the phone. If the phone is answered, goes to voicemail, that still gets answered back that same day. We will call you back and find out how we can help. We can help you sign up as a client to give you no free advice. We do have many advisors on our team and throughout the region that can help you, so please reach out. Also below, there's the SBA contact information. Disaster customer service at SBA, that is a great resource. If you have your confirmation number, you will put your confirmation number in the subject line and also your name. In the body, you will ask if whatever questions that need to be asked. Where in line is your loan? That is a huge one. Like I said, we personally at the SBDC cannot check your status. If we could, we would, but we can't. You would have to go directly to the SBA for that information, but we can help you with so much more. So thank you, and we will go to questions.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So lots of stuff going on in the news, lots of questions from all of you today. Just wanted you all to remember that SBDC services are free. Our one-on-one counseling that we do with client businesses, you never have to pay for. Our experts are paid experts in their field, and that's what we use our funding on specifically. So please remember that there's a lot of questions already in the queue. If you want to make sure that your question is answered, look through the existing questions and vote up somebody else's question. That will definitely help work you to the top. Okay. Our first question today is from Scott. All the EIDL money is gone, question mark. How is it that I applied on 4/1 and didn't get any EIDL money? Noah.
Howdy, folks. My name is Noah Brode. I'm at the U.S. Small Business Administration out of our San Francisco district office. So this is a question that we especially got yesterday after it was reported that all the funds were exhausted and gone for both the PPP and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan programs. What happened yesterday is that the SBA stopped accepting new applications. New applications and new approvals were no longer being accepted for the Paycheck Protection Program. So lenders are no longer allowed to submit a loan to SBA for an approval. And an individual that goes to sba.gov can no longer enter in a new application for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. If you received an approval from your lender and that approval had an SBA loan number attached to it, that means that funding in this program is reserved for that approval and it is available. On the Economic Injury Disaster Loan side, those applications are continuing to be processed, approved, and funds dispersed. So if you had your application in prior to yesterday, you're still in the pipeline, and those are being reviewed, approved, and dispersed on a first come first served basis for that program. So
and some are being declined as well.
And some are being declined. So they're being reviewed, and declines do come to that process as well. So a bunch of questions I've had, is, if I put in an application, will I still be, will that application get reviewed? And the answer is yes. And there are funds that are still continuing to be dispersed for any individual who had an application in before yesterday. What happened yesterday is that new applications and new approvals are no longer being accepted.
Okay. James has a great question, and Scott or Sunita, you might know the answer to this. We applied for the PPP, been approved and funded. We have 30 employees. However, a few employees decided not to return. Has this been cleared up on how these will be handled from the forgiveness side? Do we still pay them for the 8-week period, even though they don't plan to return? Any?
Yeah, so there's two answers really to that question. And one is, I encourage you to look at your promissory note and the agreement you have with your lender for the PPP program. That's something or work with the SBDC on that. But the structure of the program itself does not have headcount requirements for the PPP. And that isn't the structure of the Paycheck Protection Program, is that so long as funds are spent on eligible payroll costs, at least 75% of the funds are spent on eligible payroll costs, then you are eligible for the forgiveness portion. We don't specify that work needs to be being performed with those funds, that they need to go to specific employees, that they need to go to new employees or old employees, or anything to that effect.
Okay, great. Let's see. Jesse says, I applied for the PPP. I applied with B of A and uploaded documents on 4/7, but no money yet. I understand SBA ran out of money and is not accepting new applications. Am I considered a new applicant? Yeah,
so this is really a question for your lenders. I've been working with a lot of business owners on throughout the week on some of the PPP items, and it really depends on what your lender did with that application. If your lender, because I have worked with some individuals who they had not been contacted by their lender. The lender hadn't told them that they had approved and submitted their application even to the SBA, and they hadn't just gotten back to the borrower in time. And but if your lender hadn't approved and submitted that approval to SBA before yesterday, that means that application doesn't have funding reserved for it, and it can't be submitted to SBA for funding until more appropriations are made.
Okay. Aaliyah is asking whether or not credit card payments qualify for low interest payment. I'm assuming she's talking about paying bills with, yeah.
So yeah, you kind of answered that in the presentation. You can make interest payments towards debts.
For your business.
For your business.
For your business, excuse me. Yeah.
Okay. So Robin is saying that she's an LLC and she's the only employee. I don't think I qualify for either EIDL or PPP ? I applied for EIDL as a sole proprietor and have a submission number beginning with 3, but have not heard yet. Robin, you can certainly reach out to an SBDC advisor in regards to whether or not in your specific interest you qualify, or we think that you qualify given your individual situation. That might be a one-off one that we'll have to direct you to an SBDC advisor.
Yeah, at a high level, I will say that sole proprietors and self-employed individuals are eligible to apply for both the PPP and the economic injury disaster loan when applications are open. And an individual, a self-employed individual, can apply for and receive both as well. It is a little bit more complicated on the PPP side for self-employed individuals, but that's an acceptable applicant under the applicant type under that program.
Okay. Jennifer is saying that she applied for an EIDL loan on March 27th, heard nothing, was told to reapply this week, reapplied on 4/14. Will it still be processed if it was applied for on 4/14?
So for the EIDL loans, those are being processed on a first come first served basis. And so I know that disbursements and advances are going out now for individuals that applied near the early part of the program. And I don't have a good answer to how reapplying at 4/14 affects where you fall in the queue. That's really an office for a question for the Office of Disaster Assistance, which I think there's that email address and the 1-800 number.
What was the 1-800 number for the Office of Disaster Assistance? Could an email, do we have that on the slide deck?
Yeah, it's up on the slide deck right now. So it's 800-659-2955.
Great. Okay. Jason said that he's been funded. He wants to make sure to spend the funds correctly. Where do we get clarifications on who we bring back from layoffs? I think that you had answered that already, Noah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, roughly.
What if we replace laid off employees with new employees? I think you answered that as well. It doesn't matter.
There aren't headcount requirements. Yeah.
What if they want
the one exception that you always defer with the Paycheck Protection Program? The golden rule with that program is to defer to that's a lender-driven program. So there's a big capital I, capital D. It depends, and some of that depends on your lender.
Okay. And then the last part of that, what if we hire subcontractors? We want to have as much of the loan as possible to be forgiven, but subcontractors rather than employees, that seems like it kind of flies in the face of the purpose of the PPP, but.
Well, it wouldn't count towards forgiveness because those aren't payroll expenses. Okay. At least, so I guess that's, if we're talking about the PPP program, those might fit into the, no, I don't even think they would fit into the 25% other category for the PPP, but the forgiveness portion of that does require that expenses be made on payroll expenses.
Sunita, Addie is saying that she applied for an EIDL, and she wants to know if they will get a notice if they get turned down, or will we only hear from somebody if we've been approved?
So I can tell you how the program communicated with applicants prior to the CARES Act, which is absolutely yes. And for my individual, working with business owners, I know that communication's been a little bit uneven from the Office of Disaster Assistance. I have been working with business owners who've gotten notifications of denials from the Office of Disaster Assistance. So in general, yes, you get a notification whether you approved or denied. Getting notification about advances is not a thing that that most business owners have been receiving. So in that case, I've been letting business owners in some cases, they should check their bank account and just see if a deposit was made.
With most
Sunita,
of our clients,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, with most of our clients on the advance, that's how they've been finding out they get the advance, is they look into their business bank account and it should be there. And it has been processing within about 3 weeks.
Okay. Jason is asking if PPP funds can be used to pay workman's comp. The answer on that is yes. He's also asking about general liability insurance. Can that be paid for with PPP?
The answer is no.
No, yeah,
That I know of, the answer is no, because it has nothing to do with your employees.
that's not payroll.
Okay. This is an interesting one. Brian is asking, has SBA considered refining their definition of small business, perhaps 100 or less employees as a small business? He recently read that, well, I think he's getting at the fact that there's a lot of competition for the small business dollar here. So
Yeah.
any conversation about that?
I mean, the definitions that we have are, they're established legislatively, and also, those are kind of long-standing definitions that are part of existing law, and they kind of are what they are. There is a different definition for every single industry, so the definition, generally as that 500 employee threshold is used as a shorthand. When you get into the nitty gritty, every single specific industry has their own definition for the small business size standards. But it is true, they're expansive, and they cover about 97% of businesses in the US.
Cap is asking if the loan is paid back early in full, can they not accrue a penalty?
There are no prepayment penalties for either program.
Okay. Let's see. Cindy, if you get the PPP, do you have to spend it on payroll right away? Or can it be the first 8 weeks that you're actually able to open, even if that's in a few months?
It starts the day you receive the funds. So even if they don't come back to work, you still have to pay them for it to be forgivable. And
Okay.
you would check with your lender as well, but that is how it's written. If the lender has it a different way, I doubt it, but that's how it's written. As the day that you get the funding, that's the day the clock starts for the 8 weeks.
Okay. Stanley is saying that EIDL is taking too long. He applied in early April and still hasn't heard back from SBA. In terms of typical turnaround time, Stanley, we've been telling people 2 to 3 weeks, but in all honesty, the volume is unprecedented and they're having a hard time keeping up with demand. So as soon as they can get to you, they will. I guess at least you were able to get your application in while they were still accepting applications. I would, at this point, that's the best information that we can offer here. Daz says, I called the number in your email regarding my EIDL and they said they were not able to provide a status update on my application. Said I should receive an email, next steps 2 to 4 weeks from original application date. Didn't have any info about the advance either. Okay, thank you for that information. Anna says, my spouse owns a California sole proprietorship and formed during our marriage. I'm a professional contractor. We work on contracts together. We filed the taxes jointly. Anna, I'm pretty sure you asked this question last time.
Yes.
We filed the taxes jointly and we each submitted the Schedule C. Am I eligible to apply for unemployment or PUA if husband is approved for the PPP loan?
Unemployment is going to define that. We don't know the stipulations on that, so they'll review what you have and see if you qualify or not. I believe that's supposed to go live at the end of the month, but that can also change because it is something new that they're doing. So I believe they have to figure out a whole new system and also where that money's coming from, since unemployment insurance may or may have not been paid by you, depending on your particular situation. So I apologize, we don't have a exact answer, but your situation is very different than what normally happens.
Okay.
You may, you may want to look into talking to an accountant to make sure that what you're doing is correct and the best way to do it.
Matthew's asking if we know when the iBank is going to be taking applications. He's putting a one question together, but I think it's two questions. When is the iBank going to be live and taking applications, and are they going to be online applications? Sunita,
I believe
Scott know that?
Yeah, I believe they will be online applications. iBank themselves will not take applications. It is going to be some other entities that are going to be approving the loans. iBank will do a guarantee on the loans. As soon as we find out and are able to release those names, and we will let you know as soon as it happens. We should be able to possibly put it on our website, and then also when we're doing the next update, we will have that information. Once we're giving that information, they have not released it to the public. I don't believe all the entities that will be lending have been approved either yet. So that's what is the holdup.
Sue is asking what the minimum credit score requirement is for EIDL. Right now it's a moot point if you haven't applied already, but there is not currently a publicized credit score minimum. Is that correct, Noah?
Yeah, it's a blend of personal credit and business credit, and it's an internal score that SBA decides on, but they're not telling the public about it.
Okay. So Sandy is asking how we apply for EIDL loans, not just the advance. I heard that there was going to be a $15,000 limit on EIDL loans. Sandy, right now you can't. So as the SBA has shut down those economic injury disaster loan funds while awaiting appropriation further from Congress, there's no money available. Hopefully that will come back online, and I think that we've talked about that quite a bit. And then there will be another opportunity to apply. Right now, that isn't an option. Maggie is saying for EIDL, do employees have to be full-time? We have 2 full-time and 1 part-time employees. Do we get an advance of $2,000 or $3,000? Sunita?
On the application itself, it doesn't ask if the employee is part-time or not. So it just says number of employees.
Okay. What provisions are being made for new businesses and businesses that are in the startup phase? The situation could crush us, but we're being told we need 3 years of financials.
As of right now, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Sorry, are they talking about the EIDL or the triple P? Or it doesn't say.
They don't qualify or quantify that, yeah.
Okay, so for the EIDL, there's very, 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 very limited documentation that's needed for anything under $500,000. Just pretty much the application, maybe a 4506T so they can grab your taxes. But for the triple P, depends on the lender. Some lenders are just asking for your, if you're not a sole proprietor, they're just asking for your 2019 W-2s or your 2019 940s or 941s. But there are some other lenders that are asking for last couple of years of taxes, most recent year-to-date P&L and balance sheet, and some other stuff, personal financial statement, driver's license. But yeah, so I would reach out to your local SBDC as they know what financials to gather for you or help you put together. And if they're not able to help you, then you could easily just call this number or email us at this email.
You can go to your local Small Business Development Center by going to norcalsbdc.org and typing in your zip code, and the local center will come up for you on your screen. You can apply directly for services online, and it's a pretty quick process. It should take you less than 5 minutes. So I certainly do encourage you all to do that if that's a need that you have. Nick Valenzuela is saying, for the EIDL loan, if a business owner already paid current supplier bills, if and when an EIDL loan is received, can the money be used against those bills just paid, or does it have, or only against future bills to keep his business alive? Anybody know the answer to that?
So for an EIDL loan, it has a much broader category of uses than the Paycheck Protection Program. So EIDL loan funds can be used for pretty much any business working capital need, including expenses that may have already been incurred if they are tied to the disaster. So if they're tied to, one of the items that's tied up with that is so long as it is related and tied to the shelter in place, the SIP orders.
Okay. Jim is asking, is there relief for individuals whose income's been reduced because of loss of rents from tenants who are paying little or no rent due to COVID? I'm a single member LLC who owns 2 buildings and only have one employee.
So yeah, landlords and are able to apply for both programs, and that employee is a payroll cost. So that would be a payroll cost that would be eligible under the Paycheck Protection Program, and the use of the Economic Injury Disaster Loan funds could be used for interest payments on existing debts you might have for those properties, or maintenance or repairs, or existing working capital needs for that business.
Okay, so when
And we can send, we can also send you copies of the application as they were the date that the system closed. I don't know, Noah probably doesn't know this either, if that application will change in the future when it comes live again, if and when it comes live. So we can give you a copy of the application as it was as of the date that it closed. So that way you can start working on it and making sure you have all your information correct.
Mm-hmm.
Noah, could you re-clarify PPP lender queues? Chuck Meyer is saying, what if a PPP lender had submitted to SBA, but it was not yet approved? Are those in the queue? We were told there is no SBA queue for PPP lenders. Is that correct, Noah?
That is correct. There's no queue for applications. SB, or at least that SBA is maintaining. So that's kind of the clarifying item on that question, because SBA doesn't make any queue. Your lender that you're working with may say that they themselves are holding a queue in case the applications reopen, but that is a decision that's made just by the lender. So if you're being held in a queue by your lender, that's just a decision that the lender has chosen to do. SBA itself has no queuing process, or we're not maintaining and holding one for the PPP program at all.
Okay, so just to clarify for everybody, there is a queue for EIDL loan funds if your application had been submitted prior to yesterday, first come, first serve basis. And on the PPP side, there is not a queue for SBA's approvals for that process. You will in all likelihood have to wait until those funds are made available again.
Yeah, for the PPP program, it's really about how quickly a particular lender submits or transmits an approved application to SBA. And there's about 5,000 different lenders that are all submitting at the same time, and maybe they all have their own queues, or maybe they if one lender on the first day only has one client, they'll submit and they'll go straight into the system while it's accepting applications. So, but on the EIDL side, yeah, there is a first come first serve basis. So thanks, Ann.
Okay. Ian is asking if a refinance of a business mortgage block, if a refinance of my business mortgage will block an EIDL or PPP application.
Not really. If he's talking about his home mortgage, then not.
He's saying business mortgage.
Business mortgage. If he's going to refinance his business mortgage, will it affect his EIDL or triple P? Not necessarily. I mean, it could. The answer is probably no, unless actually it wouldn't matter, because he's probably refinancing it to decrease his cash flow. Increase his cash flow and decrease his payment. And if that's the case, then it could only benefit him. But the triple P I know the EIDL for sure is like a really, really soft pull on someone's credit, and the triple P, I'm not sure if it is as well, but it's they understand refinances of debts to increase cash flow. So you're probably okay.
Okay, Jennifer so Jennifer is saying, I understand that the iBank loans are launching today. Are there any other banks available to apply for loans apart from these that are on the website? She's quoting First Northern Bank of Dixon, Pacific Community Ventures, Economic Development Collaborative in Ventura.
So, we just heard this on the phone call today. Like Sunita mentioned, we were on the call with iBank before this call, and just like SBA and PPP and everybody, they were excited to roll these programs out, but they had to like define them and then redefine them and then kind of restructure them before they actually got them out to the public. And they've actually been backpedaling themselves. So even though those banks are mentioned on there, and they could totally do this state guarantee disaster loan program that is up to $1 million that Sunita talked about, they're not able to do these loans unless you are declined from triple P and declined from EIDL. And we are trying to get clarification. What does that mean if you are in the EIDL pipeline and you haven't even been notified, or if you are in the triple P pipeline, but you have not been notified? So does that, since it's all stagnant and at a halt, does that make someone qualify for this disaster state guarantee? We don't know. Hopefully we will know today. I doubt it. I don't think we're going to know anything until Monday or Tuesday of next week for iBank, because they're still trying to figure it out.
Okay. Teresa is asking, what would cause an EIDL loan to be denied?
Currently, I mean, I'm sure Noah could tell you like all the legal parameters around like a felony and some other stuff, and if it's not federally federally regulated like cannabis and some other stuff like gambling and hemp and CBD. But outside of all that, we've heard that credit has been an issue. And like we mentioned earlier, we don't know what that means. We don't know if that means you have a 400 credit score or you have a 600 credit score or it's an 800 credit score. We don't really know, to be honest with you. So we've heard credit is an issue. And if you were declined due to credit, what we need from you is we need the letter that they emailed you or sent you and that tells you why you were declined. And so we can help you fix it. SBA will allow you to apply up to 3 times and get denied or approved, or denied 2 times and approved the last time, 3rd time. And again, I know we're talking about it like it's up and open, you know, it's not, but this is how it works. And they're not gonna, I don't foresee them changing a lot of that. So it'll probably be the same, but we're just gonna have to be patient and wait.
There's a few people saying that they're oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, you know, that's a good answer, Scott. There are some categories that will automatically result in an application being denied, like Scott mentioned, such as if it was a cannabis-based business or if it was kind of on the list of ineligible categories to receive any federal financing at all. And then outside of that, for the evaluation, the majority of issues that applicants might run into are they do relate to automatic credit checks, which can be appealed.
Okay, Steve is saying that many of the servers, this must be a restaurant business, I'm assuming, will not be back until, as we're not open now. What do we do in an event we do not open until June? Can I pay managers more to make up for the shortfall of servers not coming back to get the 75% or to get to the 75%?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I've worked with grocery store clerks also, or grocery store owners who were applying for PPP because they had a totally different situation than businesses that were closed entirely, which is they're paying, you know, almost unlimited overtime, and they've got additional expenses that payroll expenses that wouldn't normally have been incurred. And the structure of the PPP program is really built around payroll expenses, not necessarily headcounts.
Okay. Clara is asking, what about people who never received a confirmation number? How can they check? Right now, guys, there's no way for us to help you check on the status of your EIDL application. There was a number, or there is a number that's given at the time somebody submits an application. Is that correct? It comes up on the screen or something? Okay.
Yes.
So that's the number. If you had lost it or you didn't make note of it, that's that number that we're talking about. It happens. You're going to have to just wait for an answer. That's the best we can. That's the best what we can advise right now.
I think too, Heather did state yesterday, Anne, that they can call. They shouldn't email because they would have to give some maybe a social security number or some things that they don't want to go over the internet to see if they can find you or not. So that is something you can do. Again, our advice is to call on the weekends because it seems that you don't have to wait as long. But the gentleman that or person that stated that they just called right now, it seems like maybe things are moving a lot faster there. So maybe after the call, I would give them a call and find out if they can find you.
Okay. Okay. Richard is asking, can we clarify there is no iBank, correct? There is an iBank, there's just no location, right?
Yeah, but it's weird. Like, it's just like you can't really go to SBA's office and say, hey, how's my loan doing? It's because SBA is the guarantor of an SBA loan, per se, a guaranteed loan. Just like the triple P, you have to go to your bank or a bank that is not your bank, or you have to go to a lender. You have to actually go to their physical location if they have one. Most do. There's a couple of fintechs that don't, but most of them do. and you need to ask the lender because it's their money. So iBank is the state guarantee. Kind of think of them as SBA, but on the state side. So there's SBA federal, there's iBank state, just state California. And it's on 13th and J in Sacramento if you want to go, but I don't recommend you to go because, like I said, you can't just walk in there and say, hey, how's my loan doing? Like, they're not going to tell you. And you have to go to the lenders. But guess what? As a average Joe, you're not going to know what lenders they are because it's just not normal. You just go to your local SBDC, and if they don't know, email us here or call this number, and we can tell you. But like we said, you know, I do like to call iBank Invisible Bank because you can't find it. And we can just keep it as that, okay? We are the spokesperson for iBank because we know about them, just like we speak for SBA sometimes. Just email us or call us. Yep, that's right, Noah. That's what I said. Just email or call us, and we'll be here for you, okay?
Okay. Let's see. We've only got a couple more minutes. I'm trying to find a question that.
While you're doing that, quick, Sunita, you just mentioned the phone number that people can call to check. Is that the one that's up on the screen?
That is correct. That's why I put that on the screen today, because I know a lot of people have been asking for that information, and there it is. It's readily there. You can take your phone, your cell phone, and click and take a photo of it, so you always have it close to you.
Okay. For our last question, there's some concern about payroll taxes that can be paid with PPP. They're saying their loan docs say payroll taxes are not forgivable, but then it also says that payroll taxes are forgivable. Can you answer that definitively, Noah?
Payroll taxes are under the four corners of the Paycheck Protection Program. Payroll taxes are categorized as payroll expenses for the Paycheck Protection Program.
Okay.
I
think we have time for one more question, and I'm just going to answer it really quickly. John, have you had anybody be declined for an EIDL? And if so, is there an appeal? Yes, we've had people be declined for EIDLs. As Scott had mentioned, when EIDL reopens, there is an opportunity to likely reapply up to 2 more times, correct? All right, great. Thank you all for your time today. I appreciate it. We will be back online on Monday from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Hopefully we'll be able to answer some more of your questions. In the meantime, please feel free to go to Ask SBDC, 833 Ask SBDC, or loans at asksbdc.com, or go to our norcalsbdc.org website and apply directly there for services. Thank you so much, everyone. Be safe and have a great rest of your weekend.